So now that Vento Aureo has finished, I can talk about references in the endings of the part. Vento Aureo has two endings. First one, Freaking You, has two versions. In the first one, the graphics, which are a bit I have a lot of cubes. The cubes are a common visual element in the part, and I cover these in my main videos on the part. The second version of the ending, this bas relief at the end. In the bottom here, we can see an inscription with 8 apples and 1 strawberry. Many people have noticed that the strawberry could be connected to Fugo, since he wears strawberry earrings in the manga, and the 8 apples could reflect the ones who go against the boss. Since they're divided, the idea that one side is the one that dies and the others are the one that lives also arises. So going to the second ending, Modern Crusaders. Modern Crusaders is structured by going bottom to top, and the main structure of the ending, the building around it, is based on the Baldacchino of San Pietro. It's a structure which is present in the Vatican. And throughout the ending, particles from the top fall down, which begin as cubes and then pentagons. As I said, the cubes are a very common element, present as in the first ending, in the Polnareff computer thing, everywhere. At the bottom of the structure, there's rolling stones, which at the beginning looks like a sphere, and at the end looks like Bruno. So rolling stones being at the bottom kind of reminds us that it has been there since the beginning, chronologically, even in the first, and has always been there in the background. So a lot of the poses of stands in this ending kind of immortalize the moment of where the character or the stand itself died. And for example, Black Sabbath here is replicating the moment where it's coming out and is being burnt by the sun. So most of them are replicating pose that the character does when they die, but some of these poses also are a reference to a sculpture or a painting. So I'll be listing what I presume what may be the pose. So Kraftwerk, it could be a reference to the pose that Romolo and Remo do with the wolf, but also has a pose of Sale when he's shot in the head. Soft Machine has a pose of Zucchero when he comes out from hiding. Little Feet has still the Romolo and Remo pose, but it can also be the pose from when he's shot or burning. Man in the Mirror is replicating a character in the Ratto delle Sabine, and also replicating the moment where Illuso is being consumed by the purple haze virus. Coco Jumbo is a turtle. Grateful Dead could be a reference to the Galata Morente, but is also replicating the moment where Prosciutto is being crushed by the train wheels. So Babyface, in his second form, could be a reference to the Fanciullo Maschera Silenica, Dionisio Bambino, or the Hanged Man, but is also replicating the moment where Melone is bitten by a snake and collapses to the ground. As a side note, the way that Melone dies here is very specific, because being bitten by a snake on the tongue is a way to get high, and many people have died attempting to do it. White Album has the pose of a deposition of Christ. It could be two things. It could be reference to when he falls with his head on of a metal pole, but it could also be a reference to the pose that Mr. assumes with Giorno, which is still a deposition of Christ. Talking Head could be a reference to Mary in the many depictions of a deposition of Christ, mourning over her son's death, since it's positioned above Ghiaccio here. But the thing is, it also could be a reference to the moment where Tiziano and Squalo are discovered. Flash is a shark. Notorious B.I.G. could be referencing the moment where Kana falls down, but in general it's assuming a very default pose. Metallica can be referencing Romolo and Remo still, but it can also be a reference to when Risotto is almost killing the boss but dies. Green Day could be also referencing that poses I talked about earlier, but it is also a reference to when Giorno is pummeling to death Cioccolata. I couldn't kind of find the exact painting and sculpture where Oasis is based off here, but as for the reference of when the character dies, it could replicate the moment where Secco goes in the trash. Purple Haze here assumes a different type of pose. It's just an exact reference from a painting, and it's the Liberation of Saint Peter from Antonio de Bellis. And as I've told in my other videos, the painting itself shows a knight that surrenders to the will of the angels who liberate Saint Peter. So in this case, it's referencing how Foucault decides to abandon the crusade that the modern crusaders, which are the Bruno group, are doing. Moody Blues is referencing two things: the Schiavo Morente of Michelangelo and the many depiction of Saint Sebastian, who was tied to a column and killed by arrows. The thing here is that Abbacchio kind of falls in the category of being connected to these two characters, since he dies near a column and it's a part of the fate that Rolling Stones predicted. Aerosmith is a plane. Silver Chariot Requiem is turning his back to both Sticky Fingers and King Crimson, in reference to how both Bruno and Diavolo find the weakness and defeat Silver Chariot Requiem. So Sticky Fingers could be many different things. Some drafts made by Michelangelo of backs. It could be a reference to the Tauromachia, bas relief of many men fighting naked. It could be this guy from the Cappella Sistina. It could be a reference to Prometheus, which could be connected to how he gives the arrow to Giorno. King Crimson and Spice Girl here are doing together a pose of a Ratto delle Sabine, and Spice Girl also has elements of the sculpture of Daphne present in the Louvre. Sex Pistols are just watching the fight between Bruno and King Crimson. Number one could be doing the Romulo and Remo pose, but would be just a stretch for them. Lastly, in the first version of the ending, Gold Experience is assuming the pose of the Giudizio Universale from Michelangelo, and in the second version it could be a reference to Jesus reborn or the Ascension of Mary. The background in the ending part with Gold Experience is a reference to the Cattedra Bernini, which is also present in the same room of Baldacchino di San Pietro in the same church, and it's also similar to the background of the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, who reaches illumination through a golden arrow. And these were all the references I could find in the ending of Vento Aureo. So I hope you liked this video, and if you want to check other stuff I made, you can check my other videos. So yeah, bye.